Oh, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, what a whirlwind she's been stirring up again. After revamping her social media accounts and wiping away her past chaos, it seemed like she might finally be trying to take control of her public image. But nope, she's back, and this time, she's on TikTok educating the world about cyberbullying. Yes, you heard that right. Gypsy thinks she's the victim here, and she wants us all to know it. In her post, Gypsy laid out the legal definition of cyberbullying, talking about how it includes spreading rumors, defaming, and humiliating people online. She even quoted the Bible, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." A bold choice, wouldn't you say? Her caption went on to claim that gossip and harmless chatter are actually forms of cyberbullying. Interesting perspective, Gypsy. But let's break this down. First of all, what exactly did she expect when she stepped back into the public eye after everything that happened? We're talking about someone whose entire notoriety stems from her involvement in her mother's murder. Did she think people would welcome her with open arms, shower her with praise, and forget about the man she manipulated into committing such a heinous act? And let's not forget, this is the same man who's now serving life in prison while Gypsy got a considerably lighter sentence. People have questions, Gypsy, and no amount of rebranding is going to erase those. But here's where it gets even juicier. Gypsy claims she doesn't understand why people dislike her so much, and honestly, it's not just about her past actions, it's how she continues to handle things. In her own words, she doesn't even consider herself a murderer. She's openly said, "Yes, I had a part to play in it, but I didn't actually kill anyone." She explains that the plan formed when her then-boyfriend Nick said he would protect her from anyone. When she asked if that included her mother, he said yes, and as she tells it, the plan kind of formed from there.
Don't associate myself as a murderer, because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help. And how that conversation started was, he was saying that he would protect me from anyone. I said anyone. He said yes. I said even my mother. He said yes. And then the plan kind of formed from there. But he's the one that did the actual kill, not me. I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble to begin with, because he's the one that did it. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't identify as that.
Excuse me, what? That's not exactly taking accountability, Gypsy. Sure, Nick may have been the one who carried out the act, but let's not pretend she wasn't pulling the strings behind the scenes. It's her apparent lack of remorse and this constant deflection of blame that rubs people the wrong way. She claims she's not a murderer because she didn't physically do the deed, but come on, she orchestrated the whole thing. That's like saying the mastermind behind a heist isn't a thief because they didn't crack the safe themselves. It just doesn't add up. And honestly, her recent social media changes with wiping her accounts clean, rebranding as a survivor, and now preaching about cyberbullying feel like a strategic move to gain sympathy. But if she really wants people to stop cyberbullying her, maybe she should start by addressing her past actions with genuine accountability. Her social media makeover can't erase the fact that she's been dodging responsibility for years. The thing with Gypsy is that she's always been a polarizing figure. Some people teach her as a victim who finally broke free from her mother's abusive clutches, while others can't get past the calculated decisions she made to achieve that freedom. And honestly, her latest attempts to play the victim card with this cyberbullying narrative only add fuel to the fire. Let's talk about her approach to these drastic changes on social media. Gypsy's wiped her accounts clean, removed all traces of her past oversharing, and replaced it with a polished professional facade. But here's the catch. No matter how much she scrubs her online presence, the internet never forgets. Those ultrasound pictures, the messy live streams, and the controversial remarks about her past, they're all out there, archived and analyzed. This whole rebranding feels less like a fresh start and more like an attempt to control the narrative. But is it working? Not so much. And can we take a moment to dissect her whole "don't call me a murderer" stance? It's such a bizarre hill to die on, pun intended. She's doubling down on the idea that because she didn't physically commit the act, she shouldn't bear the same label. But let's be real here. If you plot a crime, recruit someone to carry it out, and then benefit from the results, you're not exactly innocent. Her repeated attempts to distance herself from the label of murderer only make her look more guilty in the court of public opinion. Then there's the issue of her lack of genuine accountability. Gypsy talks about how Nick was the one who did it and how she couldn't possibly harm anyone herself, but she glosses over the fact that she manipulated him into doing it. It's almost as if she sees herself as a passive participant, someone who just happened to be there while all this unfolded. But that's not how it works, and the public isn't buying it. Her recent TikTok post about cyberbullying feels like another deflection tactic. Instead of addressing the deeper reasons why people criticize her, she's reframing herself as the victim of online harassment. And while cyberbullying is a legitimate issue, her use of the term here feels disingenuous. It's like she's trying to shift the focus from her past actions to how she's being treated now. But you can't just erase history by crying cyberbullying. People want to see remorse, accountability, and real change, not Bible quotes and textbook definitions. Speaking of the Bible quote, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." Oh, Gypsy, what a bold choice of words. It's as if she's implying that everyone criticizing her is a hypocrite. Sure, no one's perfect, but most people haven't orchestrated their mother's murder. Using a biblical reference to defend herself just comes off as tone-deaf and a little self-righteous. Now, let's talk about the timing of all this. Gypsy's recent social media overhaul and public statements seem oddly calculated. Is she gearing up for something bigger? A book deal? A documentary? Or maybe a new tell-all interview? Because let's face it, this sudden push to control her image doesn't feel like it's just for personal growth. It feels like a PR move, plain and simple. And where does Ken fit into all of this? The poor guy seems like an afterthought in her narrative. Gypsy's fixation on Ryan, her ex, and her refusal to fully acknowledge Ken's role as her husband and the father of her child is troubling. How does Ken feel about all of this public drama? Does he even have a say, or is he just along for the ride? The way she constantly circles back to Ryan in her live streams and posts makes you wonder if she's truly moved on. And if she hasn't, what does that mean for her current marriage? At the end of the day, Gypsy's story is like a car crash. You can't look away. Her attempts to rebrand herself might appeal to some, but for most, they just raise more questions. Can she really change? Or is this just another chapter in the ongoing saga of Gypsy Rose Blanchard? One thing's for sure, the world is watching, and Gypsy knows it. The question is, what will she do next? Because with her track record, you can bet it will be dramatic. So, what do I think about her recent statement and her whole cyberbullying education campaign? Well, it's giving me a bit of whiplash. On one hand, it's kind of ironic for her to lecture about rumors and defamation when she's made headlines for far more serious actions. On the other hand, it's hard to take her seriously when she's so busy justifying herself instead of genuinely reflecting on the pain and chaos her choices caused, not just to her mother but to everyone involved, including Nick and his family. At the end of the day, Gypsy seems to be caught in a strange limbo, wanting to move on and rebuild her image, but refusing to fully own up to her past. And let's be real, the internet isn't going to forget, no matter how many TikToks she posts about cyberbullying. What do you think? Is this just another attempt to control the narrative, or is Gypsy genuinely trying to change? Either way, one thing's for sure, she's not stepping out of the spotlight anytime soon.